Hey, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, February the 4th, 2024. Who'd have ever thunk it? I'm just sitting here thinking about a 50-year anniversary. And I started to write it, but when I start writing things like this, I write so long that all of you go to sleep. And I know you don't read it anyway, so but that's okay. But 50 years passes pretty fast, folks. 50 years ago, 600 months to be exact, or what was it? 18,250 days ago. It's been 50 years. I was 25 years old, believe it or not. Nixon was the president for most of the year. I think in August is when he resigned in 1974 and he became a civilian again, and Gerald Ford took over. So that's been a little bit of the history of back in that time. But also, this is the morning, and I wanted to put it on video rather than trying to write it out, like I said. But this is the morning that early in the morning I got a phone call at my house. Pat and I hadn't been married too awful long. We got married in 71 and this was 74. We got a phone call and found out that my brother had been shot. And of course you don't believe it at first, and they tried to convince me, and my Aunt Mary Lee tried to convince me, that Barry was dead. So we went to the hospital and got there, and then whenever they handed us all of his belongings, that's his billfold and keys and that sort of thing, that's when it's really kind of slaps you in the face that somebody's gone that you care about. Then I had to call my sister in Nashville, talk to her. One of the worst experiences of my entire life, listening to her scream on the other side, and I couldn't be there to help her. Then, to make it even worse, we had to go see my mother. I've written this before on Facebook, but this is what I go through every February 4th, folks, so just forgive me. But I wanted to talk about it a little bit this time. We had to go see my mother. She was with my grandmother at my grandmother's house, and had to tell her and watch her collapse to the floor, and had to call the ambulance on her, and didn't know if she'd live or not. She had an awful weak heart, but she did make it through that. So this is what February 4th is to me. And the thing is, people do tell me sometimes, or act like I should get over this. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think it's ever going to happen. I don't believe I'll ever get over this. And this is what I go through, folks. And some of you go through some days that you have awful hard days because of losing loved ones and that sort of thing. But they shot my brother. They did it sneak attack. They weren't brave enough to do it to his face, so they shot him. And then one of them got out of the car and walked up to him and shot him some more, just to make sure he was dead as he laid there on the pavement. And that I'm sorry, that's just a hard thing to get over. Put yourself in my shoes and just picture one of your loved ones that happened to them. Picture somebody just shooting them down and then going up and shooting them some more. But Johnny, you're a Christian. Well, I am a Christian. If I hadn't been a Christian, and if I hadn't known that Barry was a Christian, then I don't think I'd have ever made it through this. I'd probably done some things that I shouldn't have done back then. I wanted to awful bad, and even contemplated it several times. A lot of times I contemplated it. But it was awful. But I can't let February 4th go. I have to. I'm sorry, my arm's shaking. I have to remember it. I have to keep Barry's memory alive. And I don't want to run y'all down on the ground over it, and I don't want you sad over it. I'm sad enough for everybody, believe me. Uh, but I'll tell you, there's been good times. There's been good memories. And I can be thankful that the Lord has brought us through. That I've dragged my family through the mud over this, and my wife, she's tired of it, I know. And my boys, they lost a lot of things because of that happening. They were born right after Barry was killed on February the 4th, and then my oldest son was born a few months later, Kevin, and then right after that, 3 years later, not exactly right after that, Carrie was born. But it has affected my entire life. I see dads, I see videos, or I see them on TV, or whatever, taking their sons hunting and doing things like that. I couldn't do it. I honestly could not shoot something innocent. I couldn't look at it and shoot it. It was defenseless, like a deer. I know a lot of people hunt deer, and I know we need to hunt deer, or they'll be all over the place. But people hunt deer. I can't shoot one unless I was going to eat it and needed it for food. I just can't do it, because I can't look something out there in front of me and just take its life because I want to take its life. It always reminds me of Barry. And I've been a lousy fisherman. My dad didn't take me fishing much. I think we went 2 times, and that's probably about all times I've ever been with my own boys. I've let my boys down, and I traveled for years and just trying to make a living and that sort of thing. Anyway, I'll get off of that. I just really wanted to remember the 50th anniversary of my brother's death. And that rascal, he got to go to heaven and be happy. He wasn't perfect, by the way. If any of you knew any of us back then, we had some things that we got into sometimes that we shouldn't have. We were preachers' kids, and we were mean as the devil sometimes. But he did accept Jesus as his Savior, and I remember when he did it, and he meant it. And in spite of his mistakes, I know he went to heaven. And so that, I look at that and I think, you rascal, you're up there happy, and I'm down here going through hell on earth, since that time. I've had a lifetime of regrets and a lifetime of aches and pains over what happened back then. My poor mother, bless her heart, and when she was with us, she had some hard times too, and Patty, my sister, it about drove her crazy, I think. So anyway, that's my cheerful morning message to you. And I don't know why I do this, but I have to. I just have to get it out on February 4th. I'm sorry. No, I'm not. I'm remembering Barry. If people don't like it, I'm sorry about that. But I hope that you guys can kind of bear with me when I do this. But hey, look at it this way. You didn't have to look at a lot of writing. I know that'll make Doug Howell happy, won't it, buddy? All right. Well, I'll let you go. It's 1:08. I ought to stop and I ought to go to bed, but it probably won't happen. Anyway, love you guys. Thanks for listening. And just try to remember my brother, those of you that knew him, on the 50th anniversary of his going home to be with the Lord. And then one day you can remember me when I'm gone. I hope you'll remember me. Some of you say good riddance. That's okay. All right. Love you. Have a good night. Good day, whatever this is. Bye.